Welcome to Lesson 15.8, where we explore how AI can assist with one of the most technical aspects of a grant development, budgets and budget justifications. Budget development requires precision, consistency, and clear articulation of how resources connect to program activities. Many grant professionals find budget narratives tedious to write, yet these narratives are critical for demonstrating the reasonableness of your costs and convincing reviewers that you have thoughtfully planned resource allocation. AI can accelerate several aspects of budget work, from drafting narrative justifications to modeling complex multi-year projections. However, budget work also carries unique risks. Errors in calculations, inappropriate cost categories, or compliance issues can sink otherwise strong proposals. AI assistance must therefore be bounded by careful human oversight and verification. In this lesson, we will explore practical applications of AI in budget development while emphasizing the critical human oversight required. By the end, you will have techniques for using AI to draft better budget narratives faster while maintaining the accuracy and compliance that grant budgets demand. Let us be clear about what AI can and cannot do in budget development. AI excels at drafting narrative text, which makes it useful for budget justifications, the prose that explains and defends each line item. Rather than staring at a blank page trying to explain why you need a project director at 0.5 FTE, you can have AI draft an initial justification that you refine. AI can also help model complex budget scenarios, generating formulas for multi-year projections, calculating cost of living increases, or modeling different funding scenarios. However, AI cannot verify your actual costs. It does not know what you actually pay staff, what vendors actually charge, or what your indirect cost rate actually is. Every number in your budget must come from your organization's actual data. Similarly, AI cannot ensure regulatory compliance. While it might know general principles about allowable costs under federal regulations, it does not know the specific rules of your funder, the nuances of 2 CFR 200, or your organization's specific policies. Compliance verification requires human expertise. Budget narratives, also called budget justifications, are the prose explanations that accompany your numerical budget. They serve several critical functions. First, they explain what each line item is. Personnel costs might list specific positions, their FTE allocation, and their roles in the project. Second, they justify why the cost is reasonable. A strong narrative explains how you determine the amount, whether through market rates, historical costs, or vendor quotes. Third, they connect costs to activities. Reviewers want to see that requested resources directly support the work described in your narrative. A position that appears nowhere in your project description raises questions. Strong budget narratives prevent reviewer questions and concerns before they arise. When a reviewer sees a significant cost and immediately understands what it is, why it costs that much, and how it supports the project, you have done your job. When those questions remain unanswered, you risk losing points or triggering requests for clarification that delay awards. Personnel costs typically represent the largest category in grant budgets, and their justifications require careful attention. AI can help draft these narratives efficiently if you provide appropriate information. Start by giving AI the essential details: position title, FTE dedication to the project, salary or salary range, and key responsibilities in the project. Then prompt for a justification. Draft a budget justification for a project director at 0.5 FTE, annual salary of $85,000, resulting in a project cost of $42,500. Key responsibilities include overseeing all project staff, managing relationships with partner organizations, ensuring fidelity to the program model, and leading evaluation activities. The narrative should explain why this level of effort is necessary and how the salary is appropriate for the position. AI can generate coherent professional text that you then refine. Critically, you must verify that the salary, FTE, and resulting cost are accurate. AI is drafting prose. You are responsible for the numbers. Here is a complete prompt for personnel justification using the rhetorical prompting framework. Persona: you are a senior grant specialist with extensive experience writing budget justifications for federal grants. You know how to write clear, concise justifications that satisfy reviewers. Context: I am preparing a budget justification for an NIH R01 grant. The project director, Dr. Smith, will dedicate 25% effort to this project. Her annual salary is $150,000, resulting in a project cost of $37,500 per year. Her responsibilities include leading the research team, overseeing all study protocols, analyzing data, and preparing publications. Task: write a 2-paragraph budget justification for this position. The first paragraph should describe the role and responsibilities. The second paragraph should justify the level of effort and salary. Constraints: keep the total length under 150 words. Use formal, professional language. Do not include any information I have not provided. This structured approach produces usable draft text that requires minimal editing. Beyond personnel, AI can help draft justifications for other budget categories, each with its own requirements. Equipment and supplies justifications should explain what you are purchasing, why it is needed for the project, and how you determine the cost, whether through vendor quotes, catalog prices, or historical purchases. Travel justifications need to explain the purpose of each trip, who will travel, and break down costs into transportation, lodging, per diem, and other expenses. Many funders have specific per diem limits that must be followed. Contractual or consultant costs require clear scope descriptions. What will the contractor do? Why is this expertise needed from outside your organization? How was the rate determined? Other direct costs, which might include participant incentives, printing, or communication costs, each need clear connection to project activities and reasonable cost estimates. For each category, provide AY with the specific details and request a narrative that explains and justifies the expense, then verify accuracy and appropriateness. Many grants span multiple years and require budget projections that account for cost increases over time. AI can help model these projections efficiently. For salary increases, you might prompt, generate an Excel formula that calculates a 3% annual increase on a base salary in cell B2, applied across 5 years in cells C2 through G2. AI can produce the formula and explain how it works. For more complex modeling, you might ask AY to help you think through scenarios. I have a 3-year budget where personnel costs increase 3% annually, supplies increase 2%, and travel remains flat. Help me create a template that applies these different rates to the appropriate categories. AI can help structure your thinking and generate the technical formulas. However, you must verify the logic independently. Test the formulas with sample numbers to confirm they produce expected results. A formula error that compounds across years can create significant discrepancies between your budget and actual costs. AI can assist with scenario modeling, helping you think through what happens if funding differs from your request. Many awards come in at less than the requested amount, and having thought through reduction scenarios in advance makes negotiation easier. You might prompt, I have submitted a budget requesting $500,000 for a youth mentoring program. If the award comes in at $400,000, what are the possible approaches to reducing the budget while maintaining program integrity? Help me think through which costs might be reduced, which are truly fixed, and what the trade-offs would be. AI can help brainstorm options, reducing staff FTE, decreasing participant numbers, phasing implementation, or finding match funding for certain costs. Each option has implications for program quality and feasibility. This kind of scenario planning is valuable before submission, helping you understand your budget's flexibility, and during negotiation, when you need to respond quickly to funder offers. AI accelerates the thinking process without replacing your judgment about what reductions are actually viable. Indirect costs, also called facilities and administrative costs or overhead, require special attention in budget development. AI can help explain indirect cost concepts, but it cannot know your specific situation. Every organization has its own indirect cost rate, either a federally negotiated rate for those with federal grants or a de minimis rate of 10% for those without. Different funders have different policies. Federal agencies generally accept your federally negotiated rate. Foundations often cap indirect costs at 10 or 15% or exclude them entirely. Some costs are typically excluded from the indirect cost base, such as equipment, sub-awards over $25,000, and participant support. AI might provide general guidance on indirect costs, but you must apply your organization's actual rate and follow your specific funder's rules. Do not rely on AI to calculate indirect costs correctly. Work with your finance or sponsored programs office to ensure accuracy. I can provide a preliminary compliance check by flagging costs that might raise concerns, but it cannot provide definitive compliance guidance. You might ask, I am including a line item for a recognition banquet for program participants at $2,000. Does this seem allowable under 2 CFR 200 subpart E? AI might respond that entertainment costs are generally unallowable, but costs for ceremonies specifically related to program purposes may be permissible with proper justification. This gives you a flag to investigate further. However, AI's knowledge of regulations may be outdated, incomplete, or incorrectly applied to your specific situation. The actual determination depends on the specific funder, the program context, and the specific nature of the cost. Never rely on AI for final compliance determinations. Use it to identify potential issues that warrant further investigation, then consult your organization's sponsored programs office, the funder's guidelines, or the actual regulations for definitive guidance. One common proposal weakness is inconsistency between the narrative and budget. The narrative describes a data analyst position, but the budget lists a data manager. The timeline shows activities starting in month 3, but staffing costs begin in month 1. AI can help identify these inconsistencies. You might prompt, I am providing my project narrative and budget. Please identify any inconsistencies between them, including positions mentioned in one but not the other, activities described in the narrative without corresponding budget resources, and any timeline mismatches between when activities occur and when costs are incurred. This type of systematic cross-check can catch errors that are easy to miss when you are deep in proposal development. Of course, AI can only identify inconsistencies in the documents you provide. If your narrative and budget both contain the same error, such as the wrong salary, AI will not catch it. Human verification of underlying facts remains essential. Be aware of common mistakes AI makes in budget assistance so you can watch for and correct them. First, AI may fabricate reasonable-sounding numbers when you have not provided actual data. If you ask for a budget without specifying your real costs, AI will invent plausible figures that bear no relation to reality. Always provide your actual cost data. Second, AI may apply incorrect indirect cost calculations. It might use a general rate when your organization has a specific rate, or calculate the base incorrectly. Always verify indirect cost calculations independently. Third, AI may misunderstand funder-specific requirements. Different funders have different rules, and AI may apply general principles inappropriately. Always check against your specific funder's guidelines. Fourth, AI may omit required budget categories. Some funders require specific line items or cost categories, and AI may not include them if you do not specify. Review the RFP's budget requirements carefully. Verification requirements for AI-assisted budget work are more stringent than for narrative sections because errors have more serious consequences. Budget errors can result in funds that do not cover actual costs, compliance violations, or audit findings. Every number in your budget must be verified against real organizational data. Salaries must match actual pay rates. Consultant rates must reflect actual agreements. Supply costs must reflect actual prices. If AI generated any numbers, replace them with real data. Every calculation must be independently checked. Test formulas with manual calculations. Verify that multi-year projections compound correctly. Confirm that totals actually sum their components. Every compliance claim must be confirmed against authoritative sources. If AI says a cost is allowable, verify that against the actual regulations and your specific funder's guidelines. AI drafts are starting points that accelerate your work, not final products that replace your expertise. The time saved drafting must be invested in verification. Effective budget development typically involves collaboration between program staff and finance professionals. AI can support but not replace this collaboration. Finance staff bring institutional knowledge that AI lacks. Your organization's actual cost structures, indirect cost rate, fringe benefit rates, purchasing procedures, and financial policies. They understand what costs are realistic, what budget structures work for your accounting system, and what compliance requirements apply. When using AI for budget work, share your AI-assisted drafts with finance staff for review. They can catch errors you might miss, particularly in technical areas like indirect cost calculations, fringe rate applications, and cost categorization. Their review adds a layer of verification that strengthens your final budget. Involving finance staff also builds institutional support for your proposal. When they understand and have contributed to the budget, they are better positioned to support implementation if the grant is awarded. Let us consolidate the key lessons from our exploration of AI for budget development. First, AI excels at drafting budget narrative text. Use it to generate initial justifications for personnel, supplies, travel, and other cost categories, then refine the drafts with your specific details. Second, AI can help model complex scenarios, including multi-year projections, cost of living increases, and funding reduction scenarios. Verify all formulas and calculations independently. Third, all numbers must come from real organizational data. Never allow AI to generate or guess cost figures. Every dollar in your budget must reflect actual verified costs. Fourth, compliance requires human verification. AI can flag potential concerns, but definitive compliance determinations require review against actual regulations and funder guidelines, ideally with your sponsored programs office. Fifth, AI accelerates but does not replace budget expertise. The time saved drafting should be invested in verification and review. In our next lesson, we will explore using AI for narrative drafting, another high-value application of these tools.